Welcome to another broadcast of The Soul of the Everyman on the ArtistFirst radio network. All past shows are archived. You can pick them up at ArtistFirst.com. Now here they are, the wise ones, Michael and Margaret Lyons.
Jeez, I just don't want. Hi. Just give up.
You surrender?
I surrender.
I see.
Welcome to the wise ones.
No,
No, we're not. Well,
Welcome to the show of the Everyman. I'm Margaret.
Soul of the Everyman.
Soul of the Everyman.
This is starting out great.
Yeah, aren't we going great?
We have not been drinking so far. And I'm Michael Lyons, and yes, this is the Soul of Every Man, and here we are again. And tonight's topic is, I think, something that touches near and dear to many people, which is what exactly satisfies, and what exactly satisfies the heart. I think I would say, Margaret, that people live nearly their whole lives trying to satisfy, or trying to find heart satisfaction.
Right.
And it's elusive. And I think that the other thing about it is it's unique to each individual in some ways. There are probably broad themes that you can find that people do find, fulfillment. And that's another word which people kind of put together with satisfaction, as being fulfilled. Having your heart fulfilled or being satisfied is, both those words are akin to nourishment. They're akin to connecting back up to source, and I think that in many ways, when we are searching for satisfaction, it's a search whose goal is to feed ourselves, or to find a source that brings us a whole body, whole soul, whole mind kind of energy. The word is escaping me, but in essence, without this nourishment, you feel empty. You feel the lack. You feel hungry in many ways. The antithesis of satisfaction is hunger, it's lack, it's
something's missing.
Something is missing, and I think that's exactly the right tone. When people are searching, what are they searching for? They're searching because they feel an emptiness, a lack, a hunger, and it's something which you don't have to teach someone to. You don't have to teach someone to be hungry. They're hungry because it's natural. It's important that the body requires nourishment. Well, you don't have to teach someone that they need to fill this part of their heart. They need to nourish this part of their heart. The hunger that requires satisfaction is within us always.
Yeah.
So we are born hungry for food, and we are just as importantly born hungry for the satisfaction of the heart. And yet, we're given food, and we have many ways to say that this food is good. It tastes good. It smells good. It makes our bodies feel good. But I think that people are more mystified or more unsure of what satisfaction of the heart really is. I think that they mislead themselves many, many ways. Maybe through the junk food, like the nachos of the soul. Those nachos look good. They look really good, but they're not really the thing that nourishes. They're the
The
junk,
candy.
the candy, the junk food. But there are many people out there who want to sell you the macrobiotic, 17 ways to macrobiotically fill your soul. Because there's
Isn't that what religion is?
religion or just these other things that people substitute for satisfaction. They want sort of a cookbook, and I mentioned
the rules. They want they want the rules of satisfying their soul or their heart.
Well,
Just tell me what I got to do, and I'll
tell me what I got to do. And there's a whole industry built on the paint by numbers guide to satisfaction, the name the number of steps guide to the satisfying life. And hundreds of millions of people, if not more, buy into this and literally buy into it because they put a lot of money and a lot of effort into this quest.
Right. But going back to understanding that it is a quest, one of the basic quests of this life.
Right.
You don't know why you do it. You just know that you need to do it.
It's right. It's a need.
It's another word that's used is craving.
A craving, yes.
Yeah, you're craving something. You know it's missing, but you don't know exactly what it is. It's like when you're watching little ones. They know they're hungry, but you're not sure what. They'll take anything at that point. Yeah.
Well, and we're sort of what we say is that those infants we feed them, but as spiritual infants, we're all born as spiritual infants here too. Putting it to the side that there are different ages of souls, and people are sometimes born with very much more. But each new incarnation has a spiritual lack.
Each life. Yeah.
Each life, and if you look at your life, even a singular life, and say that your life, it requires fulfillment at the spiritual heart level to become a satisfying life. And if you delude yourself about what will fill that void, you can run in many different directions. You can take your light and your heart into such dark places trying to find this satisfaction, addictions and obsessions and all kinds of other types of pursuits are driven by the emptiness that people feel, the lack, and this kind of what will fill this lack.
One observation I'd like to make is the fact that especially when people are looking for another in their relationship, they're looking for a soul mate. Okay? It's not a spirit mate. In other words, your spirit is not the one that's yearning. It's your soul that's yearning for this. And your soul is intimately connected to your heart, or your heart area.
Well, before we've defined this before, but I think you ought to give, that different, because people often confuse spirit, soul, and I think that's important to get that exactly down.
Yes. Spirit definition for us is that piece of you that is infinite. It is not, there's no imperfection. It's perfect as it is. It is a spark of the eternal flame.
Yes.
Your soul is what comes of the spirit incarnating in this physical body, and thus the physical lifetime that this body is traveling. So the soul is that interaction between the two, and the awareness grows in the soul. So when you realize that, this is just not right, there's something off here, and you know that there is a certain wholeness to either an issue, something you're seeing or observing, or even a thing, if you're observing a thing. But when it rings true, when everything you're seeing is just true. And I'm not saying good or bad, mind you. All right? It just is. It is what it is, and you're seeing it as it is. The soul is the one that either responds or chooses to respond. It's not an automatic response, but you are actually consciously choosing where you put your feet in that particular moment. So when the soul is living in this body, and this body's walking along its worldly path, it asks questions. Like, I'm in this kind of relationship. Why does it feel like there's a hole here? Something's lacking here. And that's when you begin to sort of look at things and try to understand what it is that you are trying to define. What is this hole? Well, how big is this hole? Right. What is it? And that's why people have a tendency to keep embracing things. They want to put another thing in there. Maybe if I buy this, I'll feel better. Or maybe if I wear this, I'll feel better. Or if I eat this, maybe I'll feel really good. It's like, and then what happens afterwards? So understanding that experience is pretty much why you're down here. Your soul goes, no. That sort of went in, seemed to kind of satisfy, and then it's hollow again. So it's a funny hollowness.
Well, what you just said is exactly right, because the soul, like the body in the physical, has to grow and mature and be fed. So the feeding, growth, and maturity of the soul in the incarnation that you're in is what you bring back to spirit. It's what interacts in the physical with others and with things. And it requires the right kind of food, It requires gluten-free stuff. It has to be satisfied. It has to take in what satisfies it, and it helps it to grow and mature and change. And you'll notice that the soul can be satisfied at one point in its development by some things, but then as it grows, it's no longer satisfied with that level, because the soul matures, it grows, it expands. Its appetites or its abilities or its needs also grow and develop and expand. And that's normal and natural. So what fed you and satisfied you as a young soul is now not enough, or it's just a piece of what feeds you and satisfies you. Similarly, the soul can be injured and require things to heal it, to fortify it. The spirit is eternal. It's not ephemeral. It doesn't require these things. It receives them back. And the body is completely ephemeral and goes back to the earth. The soul is in the middle, and it requires a different kind of nourishment. And the interaction of those between, the nourishment can also be between two. We nourish each other in relationship.
Well, it also mainly begins to expand who you are, your acknowledgement of who you are, because it's like the typical, you get one answer and you have three more questions once you get the answer.
Yeah.
That is the mystery that life is. You will answer one question and suddenly it opens the door to this huge field of knowledge that you have no idea what you're looking at. And that in and of itself increases the desire to embrace what is unknown. You look at it and you go, wait, there is a way to experience all of this. but I'm not sure what I'm looking at. It kind of reminds me when you're watching a little infant in there. All they know is they want something in their mouth, something to eat. And they put various things in their mouth trying to figure out whether or not it's edible. It's like, well, it tastes interesting, It's like, don't eat that. Something off the floor or something. But that's kind of the way we are, especially spiritually, when that begins to awaken. You're like, let me embrace whatever I can get here because I don't know what's going on. And the first question you ask yourself is like, does this satisfy that hunger I'm having?
Mm.
Is it fulfilling that empty part of my soul? And inevitably, it's just like, like junk food seems to fill you up, but it doesn't satisfy, nourish the entire body.
Right.
So life is experiencing all these things and realizing, okay, I can choose something different. Like, no, I know that is plastic. I can't eat that. Give me some food. A banana. Oh, that's good.
Exactly. And the other thing that you mentioned earlier was that you as you experience things, there's a certain guidance. When you eat something good, your body says, without, your gut says to your body, this is good. This tastes good. This feels good. This gives me energy. There's a very similar analog to the soul. When something rings true, when it fills a piece of your heart, or it fills your heart, there's a soul, there's an entire soul. Let's call it a warmth, or just a feeling of well-being, of this reaction of this is good. And then people who find something good, they say, well, I want more of that. I like hamburgers, they're good. Well, I like helping people, or I like playing music, or you do, this is Campbell, you follow that bliss, you follow the echo of what gives your heart this wholeness. And you just said it, you follow the echo and it opens a door, and all of a sudden you find it's just not one note, it's two notes, it's a symphony, it's so much. It becomes to the point where your soul has to grow in order to take in the next thing.
Right.
You say, I'm able to eat these things in the physical, and I'll grow and I can eat other things. I have more power, I have more ability. The same thing with the soul. As the soul grows and matures through finding things that make it feel good, make the heart satisfied, it doesn't stay there. It grows. It opens a new door. It finds something that, wow, this feels sort of like what it was nourishing me before, but it's so much more. And I have to grow in order to just begin.
Right. And
the soul, again, it grows organically. It can find itself, becoming powerful enough that it can then satisfy a greater need, find a different, a different level. The soul spirals, It doesn't just go in a straight line. It goes up a mountain spiraling, and you can look back and say, those things gave me satisfaction then. And they're still wonderful things, but I built on them. I grew from them.
Right. And well, the spiral progression is 2 steps forward and 1 step back. And when you acknowledge that, you realize that this is the motion of life.
Yeah.
All right. You are going forward, but it's always this up and down kind of motion. And embracing that as a human, because the things that you do aren't always the right thing, but it isn't always the wrong thing either. It's like, well, now you know. Now you know you don't want to eat that. Now you know that, let's avoid that.
Right. Like, ice cream is good, but a gallon of ice cream is not good.
It's just that's the way we do things down here. That's how we fly.
Yeah.
And if you can acknowledge the fact that this is life experience. And it's okay. It's okay to fail. Right? That step back, most people don't want to do the step back. No. I'm making a mistake. It's like, yeah, like the rest of us humans. We all make mistakes. But you have the wonderful ability to pick up and try again, just maybe a different way, or maybe it clears your sight and you realize, oh, I should go 2 degrees to the right to be on the mark.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no. So allowing for that in your life is vital for the maturation of the soul. If you put artificial rules up for yourself where, okay, so suddenly now I have this goal, and anything that's not, working towards that particular goal, I'm going to avoid, or trying to make rules up as you're walking through this life, and then these rules are written in stone. You can't change anything. Mm-hmm. It's not acknowledging the fact that it is 2 steps forward and 1 step back, making room for mistakes.
And well, I think we started the show with the fact that the idea of looking for this satisfaction consumes people. Mm-hmm. And there are many things. We always talk about listening to your heart, but people don't listen to their hearts. People listen to everything else, right. the external, the mental, the siren call of all you got to do is, or the I'll give the paint by numbers steps, and it's the shortcuts.
So, I got this many likes on that when I posted it. How could it go wrong?
How could it be wrong? Well, yes, and certainly social media. So the pitfalls of because we're born hungry. We're born hungry for food, and we're born hungry for this satisfaction of the soul. And I would postulate, without necessarily proving it, that each incarnation has a different level of need, a different level of hunger in the soul, a different purpose, if you will. And the fact that we're born not necessarily knowing how to fill that heart soul, we can get fooled, we can get misled. And it's such a strong drive. The desire to eat at the body level is the same level of strength that the soul needs to eat. It's such a strong drive that its satisfaction can, rather the seeking of satisfaction can lead us in very many ways that are not satisfying and can be very damaging. There's a lot of pitfalls.
Mm-hmm. There are a lot of distractions here. Your heart wants to express some love and warmth to another being, and you get a dog, let's say, or get a cat, and you're just okay, this is all good, but not, what would be the word, expanding your world to be able to love another human being, to take extreme viewpoints on, because there are people that I know who will say, all innocent, these animals are all innocent. We have to do everything we can to help them. And yes, you do, because they are innocent. But what about the people in your life? Because they've made a wrong decision, so you need to flush them?
Yes. No, you don't. I don't mean that. I mean, but what I think we're saying is that the hunger can lead you down paths which aren't necessarily fulfilling that hunger, but you think it. In other words, you let instead of following your heart's direction, you go off into following every other direction.
Every other thing.
Your head will tell you, oh, I should find satisfaction in this person. And despite all indications, people will follow, they will attempt to make the person that they want into the satisfaction that they need.
Right. They're basically redressing what's in front of them and saying, okay, well, I can interact with this concept of this person, right, as opposed to who that person actually is.
Right. I'll change them.
Yeah. Oh, that's a lovely phrase. Oh, my Lord.
I'll fix him. I'll fix her. I'll change myself for him. I'll change myself for her. These are both fallacies that people will follow to their very ends. Taking your heart and saying, no, we have to be different. We can't be ourselves because people will never like us. So I'll change.
You're basically at that point believing what your head is telling you.
Exactly.
Okay, that's not a heart connection. Heart connection has to do with brutal honesty.
Yes, brutal.
Brutal. Especially with yourself. You have to be brutally honest with yourself. Yeah. And that is something that people, as a small child, you have it.
Yes, we're all born with it.
Brutal honesty, it's like, yeah, I'm trying to eat plastic. This ain't working. This is, I'm not happy with this. My diaper's wet. Things, this is like brutal honesty.
Right.
I made a mistake, and now I've got stuff all over me.
Well, yeah, and I think the brutal honesty of our souls,
yes,
is is sort of maybe not badly intentioned, but it's sort of civilized out of us in many ways. We're told what we should find satisfaction in, and if you buy that, if you buy that what you are is not what you should be, you have an instant dichotomy. You end up starving. People will go through their lives, and we all know people like this, and we can be guilty of it ourselves, starving themselves of what they know nourishes their soul, because they say, well, I can't be this. I have to be that.
I've invested too much time and effort and energy and money into this particular belief. It can't be wrong.
Well, there's certainly that, and there's also just, if I am unable to satisfy myself, at least I can, make this. I can do this and get by. We live in a spiritual starvation state, and almost tell ourselves that it's okay. The fact that we never have satisfaction, and yet that leads to this terrible. You end up with people running into the holes of alcoholism or depression or self-harm in many different ways because.
Yeah, and the major question that rises at that point is, who am I?
Who am I? It's a question of identity and why am I here, which is an existential question.
Right.
And why are we here at the middle of the show where we're going to go to a commercial break and you're just going to have to hang on until we get back?
Rick Riordan fans, love mythology with plenty of action and humor? Destroyer's Blood is for you. The new fantasy novel by award-winning author Michael Lynes is book 1 of the adventures of Dev Kalian, the Blood series. Follow Dev and his magic sword betrayer as they are suddenly attacked and forced to return to Olympus to fight in a war they want no part in. The world of men and gods is about to be destroyed by Zeus's ancient foe, and only Dev and Trey can stop him. The conflict never stops, and the amazing twist will have you on the edge of your seat. Act now while the ebook is on sale for only 99 cents. Destroyer's Blood is available on Amazon.com, Barnes & Noble, iTunes, Kobo, and fine e-tailers everywhere. And while you're there, get the free prequel, It's in the Blood, available for a limited time.
The Timeless Esoterica radio program with Dr. Bruce is broadcast on the fourth Monday of every month at 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Eastern on ArtistFirst.com. We explore topics including the paranormal, alien life, mysteries, conspiracies, hidden history, oddities, and much more. Each show will feature a special guest with exciting and thought-provoking discussion. Always keep an open mind, an open heart, live forever, and remember Dr. Bruce believes in you.
There is a Reaper is the story of 5-year-old Christopher Aaron and his life-changing struggle with leukemia. Winner of both the Indie Bragg Medallion as well as the reader's favorite silver medal for memoir, There is a Reaper has more than 100 Amazon book reviews and a 5-star rating. It has been described as life-changing, spiritual, a must-read. Just released on Audible and iTunes, this memoir is also available in paperback and on Amazon Kindle for only 99 cents. Get your copy of this life-changing memoir today.
Hi, this is Minette Lauren, author of Race for the Sun. Do you believe in guardian angels? Check out book 1 of my Soul Watcher series. It can be found on Amazon.com or anywhere fine books are sold. Go to www.minettelauren.com and you are listening to the ArtistFirst Radio Network.
The Fat Man Gets Out of Bed is the latest book from Michael Lynes, the award-winning author of There is a Reaper. Featuring 13 original stories, this wide-ranging collection has everything. Forbidden love, gods versus demigods, weird invading aliens, sexy seductive artificial intelligence, and unusual passion between the living and the dead. All set amidst fantastic worlds of pain and loss and boundless joy. From the sublime to the macabre to the bittersweet, The Fat Man Gets Out of Bed will leave you breathless with laughter, brimming with tears, trembling with suspense. Available now on Amazon.com, Google Play, iTunes, Kobo, and fine e-tailers everywhere.
You are listening to The Soul of the Everyman on ArtistFirst Radio. Back to your hosts, Michael and Margaret Lynes.
And thank you very much, Z-Man. And this is indeed The Soul of the Everyman. And tonight we are talking about satisfaction. But it's not what you think. No, it is what you think. And we left off at the bottom of the last half hour, talking about the fact that the soul, that our great hunger, which we are all born with, this hunger to be satisfied at the soul level, which grows throughout our life and which changes throughout our life, can be something which we end up, and many people who deny themselves what feeds their soul for some other thing,
Right.
and when people say I have this soulless job, it's horrible. I spend all day doing, and I would rather be, and name it X, Y, Z. The need to follow your bliss, to satisfy what you're here to do, is subsumed by these kind of mental constructs or these other things that are that purport to be more important or more desirable than this heart connection, and they drown out the heart. But at the end of the day, that pit is can't be denied, and you end up with people midlife crisis. I've lived my whole life depressed because they've lived their whole life in this kind of soulless existence. Finding that whatever they've done has no meaning. It has. They find their lives. They say, "Why was I here?"
Well, that phrase, I find myself in a soulless existence, is very telling, because it means that you have got to be able to nourish the soul for it to grow. And if you don't, and you stunt your soul's growth, suddenly there's this vast emptiness. It went from like this hole somewhere to this vast emptiness because you've had a soulless existence. And when that hits, that's when people go bananas.
Yeah. The relationships which are supposed to nourish your soul can hollow it out. The things that you do on a daily basis, if they just feed the body and they don't feed the soul, it's unbalanced. To the extent, and this kind of comes back to the satisfaction part. Satisfaction also is equated in many times with happiness. When one is satisfied and one is feeding your soul, you're happy. Well, the converse of that is when you have this void, you also have a growing sense of ill ease, of unhappiness, of dissatisfaction, and that again it becomes a massive driving force in people's life. I'm dissatisfied. I'm unhappy, and so they'll follow anything to kind of deaden that pain.
What I find interesting is that it gets to a point where they begin to look at this dissatisfaction, and if it's not looked at and a decision is made that this is unacceptable, if you accept this, then you're accepting it as your identity. And that's not who you actually are. But we've all heard the phrase, well, I guess that's who I am in this life, or that's what I have in this life. I have to, that's my lot in life.
You resign yourself.
And the truth is, you are more than what is going on outside in your environment, your relationships. What it appears to be on the outside is just that, an appearance. What's happening on the inside is what matters. And if it's not efforts to nourish the growth of your soul, then there's a point inside of you that frankly gets very angry.
Yes.
It's like, wait a minute, I don't remember signing up for this.
Yes. And there's no satisfying it with the external, with external things. You can be incredibly, you can look and be incredibly successful and wealthy and powerful and all these things, and your soul is so unfed that it's like a gnawing canker now. It becomes, it leads to incredible dissatisfaction. Well, you hear this phrase, I have everything, why do I feel so empty?
And it's believing what your head and the society and your ego told you was going to satisfy you.
Ego.
But you never checked with your own heart to find out what's actually going to satisfy. What's going to satisfy you, heart? What will make you happy? What will make you sing? And the head will tell you, well, you know, you need to get that job and get a higher position, or you need to buy that car, or you need some more
Whatever.
yeah. Or that new position or what. And when you're there, you're just like, no, this ain't doing it.
Right. Or you look for power, or you look for fame,
Well,
or you look for all the things.
What you're doing is you're referring back to your head saying, well, what did I miss?
Exactly.
And the head will make up something.
Oh, the head is very good at making up things.
It'll just make, oh, well, you missed this part over here.
That's right.
Yeah.
And then the head will do things like, well, you know, the way we satisfy your soul is we get the junk food or the rules or the, you know, this is all head stuff. You notice, Margaret, that the heart doesn't have rules. The heart knows, just as your stomach doesn't have rules, it says this is good, or this is making me sick, or I'm hungry, feed me now. The heart has those same, if you listen, the heart will say, I'm hungry for this, you know, and this, there's no secret to it. The only secret is to trust it. Trust this. Again, what is the head? The head has a big amplified voice. Do this now. The heart's like, this. It's the whisper. It's the small voice. It's when you put your hand to something, or you put your mind to something, or you put yourself into the situation, or you find the person, and there's the echo. There's this. And that small voice is easily ignored. In fact, I would say that most of the unhappiness in this world is because people don't follow or listen to that small voice. Sure, there are things that happen, disasters, and disease, and all these other things that can cause pain and sorrow. Sure, life is uncertain. But even in the most sorrowful and disastrous times, you can be satisfied and happy in your heart, because you also have control. Once you start listening to the small voice, the heart will teach you how to be satisfied. Even when everything else around you says, well, how can you be happy? You have nothing. How can you be happy?
Right.
And you're like, I'm happy. And they're going, and they just grind their teeth.
Like, how dare you be happy?
How dare you be happy?
No, it's true. It's the jealousy comes in, and
indignation.
Well, but it gets classified as, well, that's because you're stupid, or that's because you're you know what I mean?
A fool.
Well, so I heard one guy say, oh, well, you're easily satisfied. And you went, oh, aren't you special?
Are you special? And the people do that. They say, well, how can you be satisfied with this? You're just they denigrate.
Yeah.
You know.
And that's the interesting thing, because that comes from not believing that satisfaction is a heart thing.
Right.
It's got to be a thing.
Yes. It's got to be something that everyone else says should satisfy you.
Right. And you sit there and you go, well, okay, how has that worked for you? That, everybody says you should eat this, and you eat it, and you're going, bleh. So, were they right? Who are you? That's again, we go back to, well, who are you?
Right. Or I think, Margaret, you said it earlier, where, your heart is individual, unique you thing that satisfies you. So you have to decide. The heart decides. It says what it wants, and it decides that it's good.
Well, no, it decides whether it will engage or not.
Right.
Okay.
It isn't just stimulus response. In some ways, the body is stimulus response, although the body also can say that this is good. But the heart there's an active part of the heart that decides to engage. To accept.
And whether or not it's good depends on the experience.
On the resonance.
Mm-hmm. I have engaged with this person. Is this growing, this relationship? Are we helping build each other up, or are we tearing each other down?
Right.
and you're open to the experience as it is. You can't sit there and say, oh, okay, it's only good things, only good things, only good things. I'm going to, it's like you don't even know what's good or bad.
Right.
Have you figured out whether or not this is something that resonates, the hearts are open and resonating, or is it something that shuts you down?
Right. That sucks life out of you.
Right. So, okay, this is not what I thought it was. I am going to disengage.
Right. And I think that's the other thing is people know that it's sucking life out of them, but they stay with it. Like you said before, I've spent too much time with this, I've put too much effort and
I can't be wrong.
Well, not only that, but I can't, it's like I'm going to stick with it regardless if it's going to kill me. The ability of the mind to lie to everything else in the sense of saying, well, no, this has to be good. Follow me.
Right.
You
right.
know?
Right. No, let me, I've told you what's good, so let's follow it. And what's interesting is that it really doesn't know what satisfies the soul.
No. There's a certain element of pride. Almost like, as you said, I can't be wrong. And being wrong means that other people will look at me and say, oh, well, you wasted your whole life. How can you do that? That's part of what drives people away from the desires of the heart. They say, well, I want, my heart is fulfilled by, whatever it is, drawing chalk paintings on the sidewalk. And there's a potential, Vermeer. But no, they say, no, how can you do that? What are you wasting your time drawing chalk things on the sidewalk? Go do something useful. How will you ever be happy? You'll never be
right.
happy doing that.
Right.
And you buy it.
Mm-hmm.
And the heart says we love doing this. We meaning all of us, body, mind, and soul, love doing this. It's giving us something.
Mm-hmm.
It's making us feel good. Don't listen to them, but it's such a small voice. And the big mind and society voices drown it out so easily.
Well, you become inundated by all the other reasonable statements. And the reasonable statement is there so that you can engage in that mind and ego aspect. This is not going to be good for you because, you're not going to make any money, or there's more of a demand in the marketplace for this particular type of skill.
And the heart is not afraid to make mistakes. Just as that 2-year-old or that child isn't afraid to try to eat the plastic. The mind is incredibly afraid to make a mistake and spends all of its time trying to be right.
Not interesting, though. Why? Why does the mind have to be right all the time?
It's what? We always come up with another show near the end of the current show that we're in. But we might. But I think, in fact, the mind is very properly given a lot of things that it needs to say right, wrong, right, wrong, right, right. And there's a place for it, and it's important, because you don't want to drive into a tree. Right, wrong. Don't drive the tree. Yeah, okay. Stay away from that. But the heart comes in not in the, don't slide on the ice and hurt yourself. The heart comes in I love sliding on the ice. I'm going to be the best ice slider I've ever found. I'm going to slide on the ice because it gives me joy. Joy has no, there isn't a universal joy. It's joy for each person. And if you find another person that shares your joy, hang on to them. Because there you are, you found a relationship there. But as the joy that is brought to you is the satisfaction. Those two things are oftentimes properly aligned. When you're satisfied, you're getting something into your soul which brings you joy or bliss or happiness. All those things are the outcomes of following that small voice. This makes me feel wonderful.
Well, when you are expressing what is deep within your heart, that is a joyful moment, regardless of the situations.
Exactly.
But happiness, I always find happiness is always dependent on the circumstances. You can be joyful in circumstances that wouldn't make you happy normally.
I think there's a semantic there, but that's what I mean. I mean the joyful. I mean when people call happiness and true happiness. I'm truly when you're truly happy, the situation doesn't matter because it's an internal state.
Okay, for me, the definition is joy. Then
yes, and I think that we can agree upon that. Is if the satisfaction of your tummy is the currency of the body, then joy is the currency of the heart. And when you are interacting with the world, whatever it is that you're doing, and it feeds the soul, it brings a measure of joy. And joy grows the soul. I mean, your soul develops through the pursuit and consumption and embodiment of joy.
The joy that life is, the joy of life is the food of the soul.
The food of the soul. And that, the satisfaction of the soul is the cycle of joy. You can be satisfied in bringing joy to others because it is a cycle and a movement and a thing that you can ride and be part of. You can also encapsulate it within yourself, and you can use that as your own way of changing any situation, because joy, amazingly enough, cares little for what is happening. Joy is a reward in and of itself. You can be joyful and go joyfully to your death, because the death of the body doesn't matter in that moment if it's done because you are what you are. What you're doing at that moment is the soul's echo of joy. Now, you don't have to go joyfully to your death. In fact, I don't recommend it. But I'm just saying that the circumstances don't matter to joy. Maybe they do matter to happiness, because it qualified. I'm not happy. I am happy. But joy is at a level which transcends happiness.
Yes. Joy is actually the interaction of spirit with soul.
I think it's what you bring back. If you fulfilled your soul completely, you bring back joy.
Well, you are in the state of joy when you are in that pure communication with the spirit aspect of who you are.
Yes.
And happiness is the soul connection with the body.
Okay. I mean, I can buy that, and I think that that we eschew joy, or we don't pursue happiness to the detriment of our soul, to the hollowing out of our soul. And as we pursue our lives here, and live it, you must feed that need. You have a need for joy. You have a need for satisfaction.
You do. And isn't that interesting? But I don't hear many people acknowledge the fact that they need joy in their life.
Well, I think it becomes a denial of joy and a thing that they regret. If you ask somebody what they regret, they often regret what would bring them joy, but they denied themselves.
Right. Exactly. The one thing that they are regretting throughout their entire life is the one thing that would allow your soul, your heart, to sing.
Right. And they denied it, either actively, or it was denied them, or they just felt they couldn't pursue it for whatever reason. And that's, if you take anything away, this has been said many times in many ways by many better philosophers than are we, but that that pursuit of joy, the following of one's bliss, it does not require anyone else's approval. And you deny yourself joy where you would never deny yourself food. Don't starve your soul.
Right. Well, joy comes when life itself is living. You are living.
Yes.
It's not a doing thing.
Ah.
It's not a thinking thing.
You.
But being alive.
And joyful.
Embracing that. And have we come to the end of the show?
I'm happy. Yes, this has been the Soul of the Everyman, and live your life joyfully and feed your soul.
Yes. And I'm Margaret, and thank you for listening.